Every single Grand Theft Auto before Grand Theft Auto 6 was built around, well, one guy and a goal. And not even really one guy when it comes to a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, but in that game, 3 different guys who you could play as, each with different goals. And what is the goal in a Grand Theft Auto game? What are you actually after? Well, it seems to either be getting rich or getting revenge. The people around you are tools or obstacles, and sometimes just punchlines. But Grand Theft Auto 6 is doing something the series has never done before. It's building the entire game around a couple, a unit, 2 people in love, who also just so happen to be criminals, and whose relationship might be the thing you spend 60 hours managing. I sure hope not. Now, I ask that you bear with me today because I am dealing with a really bad stomach bug, and it is pretty hard to deliver these lines, I'm not gonna lie. Angelo, I'm so sorry in the future for this edit. And you know, Willow's been taking excellent care of me while I've been sick with the stomach bug, and I almost wonder, are we gonna get that kind of dynamic in Grand Theft Auto 6? Imagine Jason gets a tummy ache or something like that, and Lucia's baby, and I'm taking care of him. I don't know. Anyways, let's get into this. This is a huge gamble for Rockstar doing this, sort of. And why is it a gamble? Well, if Rockstar nails this, Jason and Lucia could be the most human characters they've ever written, which is why I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is more in line with a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 than any other Rockstar title previously. And if they got it wrong, well, the whole game is going to feel like some schlocky love story. It's not going to really land with a lot of players. So yeah, so you see what I mean there? Anyways, today or tonight, I wanted to talk about the relationship in Grand Theft Auto 6 itself, not the switching mechanic stuff I've covered before or how their story ends. I want to talk about, who these 2 people really are. What do we really know about this relationship as a game system, and why could this be the biggest risk Rockstar has ever done with a video game? Well, I've kind of already spoiled it, but anyways, let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with the official synopsis, which was originally from Rockstar's own site. And it was something like Jason and Lucia have always known the deck is stacked against them. But when an easy score goes wrong, they find themselves in the middle of a criminal conspiracy stretching across the state of Leonida, forced to rely on each other more than ever if they want to make it out alive. So that's kind of the general premise in this game, right? 2 people having to rely on one another. The relationship is integral to the actual experience of the game. It's a survival story. And Lucia Camino's, there's that thing with, quote, her father taught her to fight as soon as she could walk. Life has been coming at her swinging ever since. Fighting for her family landed her in the Leonida Penitentiary. I say that right? Penitentiary? Whatever. I'm sick. So now we have a character here, it sounds like, who's fiercely loyal to her family, those she loves, and is willing to do time, if something goes wrong. Basically, yada yada. You understand kind of the vibe we're going for here with Lucia. Not to say that these people are absolute total victims of circumstance, but to some extent, they are going to need to be if we're going to relate to them in the way that we related to, say, a guy like Arthur Morgan.
I'm afraid.
Then what about Jason? So Jason, he wants an easy life, but things just keep getting harder. He's grown up around grifters and crooks. He did a stint in the army trying to shake off his troubled teens, and he ended up in the Keys working for local drug runners. So there you have it. You got a guy here who wants to work his butt off to end up with an easy life. He doesn't really want to do crime or whatever. He just kind of fell into it. And it's interesting but sometimes people can kind of fall into doing criminal activities for money because it's easy, yada yada. Anyways, it seems that Rockstar is setting these 2 characters up to be very understandable when it comes to how they ended up doing what it is they're doing. We're not getting any crazy sociopath kind of characters like we had with Claude or even Tommy Vercetti, even though I love Tommy Vercetti. These are characters that the game wants us to root for to some extent. And then Jason, he met Lucia, which I forget where I read this, but I think it was on Rockstar's website, could be the best or worst thing to ever happen to him. So that tells me that Lucia is probably going to be the reason they end up getting into a lot of trouble, and Jason is going to be the loyal muscle who beats the crap out of whoever gets in Lucia's way. But there is kind of a difference here with these 2 characters. When we're talking about Lucia, her father taught her to fight, and that's all she's known is to fight for her family and stuff like that. And you got a guy like Jason who just wants the easy life. Well, that sounds like someone who, is ambitious. Lucia, I mean. It sounds like someone who wants to climb the ladder, and Jason really just kind of wants out of this criminal life and perhaps wants a easy life, like, it said. So Lucia is going to be the one pushing us into this criminal life. Jason is going to be tired and reluctant, and that seems to be what we're going to get with this game. I mean, the bios and all that pretty much lay that out there for us. But that also comes with a built-in source of friction between these 2 people who genuinely love each other. And I think it's going to be a very spicy relationship.
I want the ketchup fights
and the tickling and the giggling.
But that's all the elements you need for a very interesting relationship in a story like this, I think. And it's just so cool because you look at these trailers and you see like a couple kissing, you see them cuddling, and that isn't something we've seen in a Grand Theft Auto game like this. You know, in Red Dead Redemption 2, when the camp would kind of party it up and stuff, we would see some interesting stuff, characters kind of loving on each other or whatever, but it's because they were, you know, drinking alcohol and partying and stuff, but it was a very human element to see people touching each other. That sounds weird, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Think about a game like Grand Theft Auto Vice City, the original one. You're not seeing this kind of touchy-feely stuff, this human side of it. Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and in fact, that whole 3D era is more of a cartoon, and a very fun cartoon of, you know, the top highlights from crime movies and stuff and making virtual worlds. It was different then, you know, a different goal, different ambitions. Now we're going for something that feels much more realistic and with something to say. Grand Theft Auto 4 had something to say. Grand Theft Auto 5, as much as I crap on it, had something to say. Red Dead Redemption 2 and the first Red Dead Redemption had something to say. This game, through this relationship, is going to have a message of some kind, you know? Anyways, I'm getting lost in the sauce. I am so delirious, but you understand what I'm saying, right? We're going to be getting all up in each other's business in this game. We're going to be dancing. We're going to be cuddling. We're going to be sharing beers, dancing. Did I say dancing already? Anyways, other stuff, you know, in bed, you know, that kind of stuff. Intimate moments. This game is going to have intimacy, which is something a lot of people who play video games might be uncomfortable with, but it's going to be great for them to experience it, even if it's through some sort of virtual world or whatever. Whatever. Maybe this will get rid of the whole black pill thing, you know? Or maybe there's going to be a whole looks max angle with Jason, who knows? But this series is famous for like crude jokes and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure there's going to be some sort of looks max joke in there. How could there not be, right? I hope there is. But anyways, this sincerity that they're introducing into the game is going to be really cool and really refreshing and very similar to Red Dead Redemption 2. There's a reason that there's millions of videos of Arthur saying he's afraid.
I'm afraid.
On YouTube and everyone getting emotional in the comments. Now you could say, well, Red Dead Redemption is a different game, yada yada. I mean, when the first Red Dead Redemption came out, everyone was calling it Grand Theft Horse. They're not that different. In a lot of ways they are, but I don't think it's crazy to think that, you know, Rockstar is going to look at one title and borrow a lot from it for the other titles. I mean, they've already done that between Grand Theft Auto 4 and Red Dead Redemption, from Red Dead Redemption to Grand Theft Auto 5. It's just the natural evolution of game design, especially when you have a lot of creatives and stuff who've worked on these games in the past leaving, and the people who are still there, primarily being the ones who worked on Red Dead Redemption 2. Again, I don't think it's going to be a huge stretch. But what about this whole thing about the relationship not just being a story, but a relationship system? This is something you guys have asked me about a lot. This is something that I see time and time again. Well, what do we know about that? While there's nothing concrete, we can look back to the 2022 leaks. Yippee! And somewhere in the leaked files, there was a reference for 4 conditions tied to missions. There was romantic cool, romantic chaotic, pragmatic cool, and pragmatic chaotic. Now, I don't know if this has been debunked since then, so again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I mean, honestly, at this point, yes, I think there's going to be a relationship meter. I'll just come out and say that. Like, there's going to be a relationship mechanic. It would be really stupid if there wasn't, given that the game is built around a relationship and Rockstar's put it in previous games. That's just my 2 cents, but anyways. Nobody knows what any of that crap means in the leaks, but the community, as crazy and feral as we all are, has a reading on this. And they describe different flavors of Jason and Lucia's relationship. You know, maybe to where things are all lovey-dovey, to where maybe the relationship is just all business. Sometimes things might be calm, sometimes they might be chaotic, and this might be something that we can actually measure and something that we can actually have some sort of influence on based on our actions. I'm not sure, nobody's sure until they have a controller in their hands, but it is fun to think about. What we can almost say for certain is that there will be a relationship mechanic of some kind. So don't cheat on Lucia because she'll probably slash your tires and slit your throat, you know, that kind of stuff. But yes, I would imagine that these 2 characters are going to be so intertwined in the story that your actions as each individual partner are going to change the story as time goes on. Not like the story itself, but the potential endings. And this is not a new theory. So many people think this. There's some other leak, and I know leaks aren't very popular right now. I think it was Comic Book and Gaming Bible both reported this from a data miner. The claim is that even scripts pointed to being able to have either a passive or romantic relationship between the 2 characters, meaning this romance might not be forced. It might be something you actually have to play with and make happen. Again, all this is unconfirmed, yada, 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 salt. And drink water with that salt, please. I need to drink some water, Jesus. But what about the actual UI element, the relationship relationship meter. Everyone's talking about this. Well, a lot of people are who want this thing. You know, similar to like an honor meter in Red Dead Redemption, that kind of thing, but more as like a loyalty meter. Well, all this is so far is a theory. But given how much it seems this game is going to be relying on teamwork and the small things in between missions and stuff like that, where these two characters are just hanging out, why not? I could see it being a thing. I don't know if it's going to be like a visible UI element. I think it would serve the game better if it wasn't. That way, the ending actually hits. But I understand seeing something like an honor meter in Red Dead Redemption and being like, yo, bro, there's going to be a relationship UI element, you know, very similar to like Grand Theft Auto 4 and stuff like that, where you had the little thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know about a true UI element, but for sure a system happening in the game. Also, something I thought was interesting that I've seen people talk about time and time again is Lucia's ankle monitor. And, you know, Grand Theft Auto games in the past love to open up section by section of their map. You know, they don't give it to you all at once. Not all the time. Sometimes they do. Unless it's Grand Theft Auto 5. Right? But in the other Grand Theft Autos, the ones that worked, I'm sorry, I'm making a series about trying to appreciate Grand Theft Auto 5 so I can have my fun. But, you know, these games open up over time. Red Dead Redemption 2, while you can go anywhere you want, the game kind of opens up over time, and it makes sense to just kind of go where the plot is pushing you. Grand Theft Auto 5 is a little all over the place, but whatever. It is what it is. This game, I think, is going to follow that same tradition that it did in the past of opening the map up to you a little by little, and then maybe just letting you go absolutely crazy. And the initial restriction seems to be Lucia's ankle monitor, keeping you around the main area, doing missions for Brian, stuff like that. Or maybe just being stuck at home or something and you're playing as Jason, getting used to one character and then switching over to that. So that's something I've seen people talk about and I thought was kind of interesting and I wanted to highlight in this video. And it's funny to me how confused people seem by this whole thing of, yes, there's two protagonists this time, and yes, it's going to be different than Grand Theft Auto 5 because they're like, hey, we had our 3 protagonists in Grand Theft Auto 5. This is only 2 protagonists. And it's like, okay, but understand the context in which their relationship is based. And Grand Theft Auto 5, yes, you did have those 3 protagonists, but you didn't really connect with them, right? Maybe you did, but a lot of people didn't. The characters didn't feel very fleshed out, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, they were, but whatever. Just hear me out here. It ultimately became a story of these guys are all in it for the money. You know, Trevor was tied to Michael for relationship reasons, but the dude was crazy. And ultimately, the game ended up with someone having to die, or maybe they all have a happy ending. They weren't romantically involved, is what I'm saying. In this game, we will be romantically involved with Lucia. Lucia will be romantically involved with Jason. This opens up so many things because we weren't living with these characters in Grand Theft Auto 5. In Grand Theft Auto 4, you're living with your cousin Roman, but you don't ever see them interact outside of a cutscene or when you're going to hang out, but you don't see them in the apartment. In Grand Theft Auto 6, it's looking like we're going to have those interactions in these actual locations with the two characters living together, brushing our teeth together, showering together, putting our clothes on and going out to do whatever it is that day together. Perhaps trying to get away from each other sometimes because maybe we need some space. It's going to be very interesting to see how Grand Theft Auto 6 simulates a real breathing relationship in sort of a Bonnie and Clyde kind of style. I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be different than anything they've ever done before. But again, I think if they don't stick the landing with this relationship, the game is just going to come off cheesy and it's going to crash and burn. I have high hopes for this game. I don't see that happening, but it's always a possibility. But what do you think? What are you excited for with Grand Theft Auto 6? Do you think that a relationship like this is going to kind of limit what you would like to do in the game? Or is it something you're really looking forward to exploring in the game? It's in the game. It's gonna be in there. There's gonna be a system. It just is what it is. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. In fact, tell me what your favorite game is. What's your favorite female protagonist in a video game series? My name's Dandy Andy. If you got something out of this video, please leave it a like. And maybe hit that subscribe button to join me for new videos. I am so sick for this video. I'm about to stand up, go in the bathroom, and puke my guts out, and I'm not even joking. So anyways, guys, have a great rest of your day, night, week, year, whatever. I'm so sorry. Much love and peace.